Uncle Max.
Noted.
Where's the most recent, craziest place or assignment you've been sent on? Because you go all sorts of places. Right?
Yeah. I think the recent one.
Were you in Ashaiman?
Yes, I was in Ashaiman.
Before or after that?
No, after.
Right.
After.
You go all sorts of places.
Yeah, recently I was in Burkina Faso with the Ghana Boundary Commission.
Wow.
Yeah. With the Ghana Boundary Commission. I remember during one of the briefings, one of our guides actually told us that about 50% of Burkina Faso is controlled by jihadists. You know, so we really have to be careful about our movements.
I listened to Professor Kwesi Enin on the Ashaiman thing.
Yeah.
And on how some of these events undermine our ability and capacity to control the vulnerability of the youth when it comes to some of these terrorist groups and other things.
True, because then they start harboring some resentment against you know the military, law enforcement agencies and all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I follow you a lot, eh? You go
I also follow you. You know,
follow me.
Not by nature.
Please. You may leave the studio. Thanks for the news.
Thank you.
Oh, Joy 99.7 FM. Well, not by nature. Yes, I'm in the seat. Coming up, Ultimate Health. We're looking at the Ramadan fast. Yes, understanding the health benefits and challenges of fasting with my guests. We had an interesting vote in Parliament. I'll take this one from a man born in 1945. I think he passed in 1990. Onipenuya.
Joy 99.7 FM.
You are with me, Naughty by Nature, on Joy 99.7 FM. I love this one. Real name Amade Jabre. Born in 1945. Unfortunately, he passed in 1990, the year after this song had trended, 1989. I'm just, wrapping up my Ghana month. Nipanyo. just love it when he slips in. Dig it. Only we have for you all on Joy 99.7 FM. I'm in the seat, and on a Sunday afternoon, that makes it complete. Ultimate Health, your ultimate guide to healthy living. Listen every Sunday, 2:05. Shika in short now, Gold Coast.
You know it's another OPK class.
All right, yes, we are predominantly Christian state, but there's a very, very, very significant number of Muslims or those of the Islamic faith. And round about now, they are observing the month, the holy month of Ramadan. How can I end my Ghana month without going in there? So today I'm looking at fasting and the Ramadan fast. Health, medical, physiological implications, benefits, and challenges. Because in the holy book, the Quran, there are exemptions. And these directions, be they spiritual or religious or indeed medical, have a relationship to what fasting does. Okay, so I've got in the studio Dr. Hadi Abdallah, a neurosurgeon. I call him Nungwa Manche. Hadi, alo nchake ninke ashama manje wafta yo.
Charlie, Ashama be anele.
But
she bolaga Ashama then chase a colony of Nungwa.
It says
Nungwa be ke Ashama kiami.
Okay. You be game back no je. Be back bleo. Right. You are welcome. He's a neurosurgeon extraordinaire with the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, but his roots, like you heard me mention, Nungwa. Yeah, he's a homeboy. He and King Promise and those people, they're all Nungwa boys. But he's a neurosurgeon. But you're also a practicing Muslim, aren't you?
Yes, right, I'm a practicing
And
Muslim.
over the years, he's helped me with this particular topic, a very interesting one. We hope to be joined shortly by Dr. Kasim Abdullah. Right, yes. Abdallah and Abdullah, I have to take my time. But I believe he's also practicing.
Yes, it's a practicing Muslim.
But
I just realized he's also standing. He's picked up a nomination form for the NDC.
Oh, political.
Yes.
Okay, political doesn't always mean healthy, but he's welcome when he joins us. But he's a dietitian and he's specialized in dietetics.
Yes.
And based at the University of Cape Coast.
Yeah.
He will join us shortly. So, Hadi, without wasting too much time, this is the holy month, right? I believe the 9th month of the Islamic calendar.
Yes.
And you are required, you are obliged to fast according to the directives of the Quran.
Yes.
Right. Share a bit of that religious background. What is the requirement?
All right. Thank you. I mean, as Muslims, who are also, or who I enjoy to read other scriptures that came before the Quran, it is mentioned in several books where fasting is encouraged by God. But we've not had like any scripture which actually makes fasting compulsory for people who are capable.
You are encouraged to fast.
Yes, so that was like prior to Islam.
Okay.
But if you read most of the scriptures, you read the Torah, the Gospel, you will see many examples of fasting. So fasting has been with us for a very long time, especially for those of the Abrahamic faith.
Okay.
I've also learned that other people also fast. But for Islam, it is compulsory.
Right.
Even though we have non-obligatory fasting, which many Muslims also do. There are Muslims who fast every Monday and Thursdays.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But for the month of Ramadan, it is compulsory. And it's an instruction in Quran chapter 2, which enjoins us to do it.
Okay.
It is also important in strengthening your faith during this period. And if you listen to most of our scholars, the Muslim scholars, they said that there's a lot of spiritual benefits that comes with it.
Okay.
And over the years, there are good examples. And what even makes the month of Ramadan exceptional for many Muslims. He said that the heaven's gate are opened, and then the gates of hell are closed.
Right.
This is probably the only month that you have that like happening.
Okay.
So what it means is that if you supplicate or you ask God for anything and you do good work, you are likely to get it.
Okay.
And then there's one night out of these 30 days.
The power night, the night of power.
The night of power.
Right.
Which many Muslims look up to. Which is said the glory of God and the angels actually descend upon earth.
Right.
And if you pray, it
that
goes...
That is when it is written that the prophet received the Quran.
Yes, that is the night that he received like the completion of the Quran.
Okay.
Yes.
So this observation actually is very, very comprehensive.
Yes.
You are bringing yourself before your God and Maker. You are now trying to identify with His providence.
Yes.
Right? You discipline yourself.
Exactly.
You abstain from not only food and drink.
Yes.
I was hoping you get there, but
and from
bad thoughts, sex,
yeah,
lustful thoughts, wickedness,
bad behavior,
and even war.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's very broad.
Yes.
Okay, so to abstain during Ramadan is a very broad concept, which is part of the doctrine that we read and the scripture. But again, many people relate it directly and associate it directly with the abstinence from food and drink from dusk
to dawn. From dawn to dusk.
Okay, let me not reverse it, right?
Yeah.
So for that period, for a day, you are not taking in any food, and you are not taking in any drink.
Yes.
I do read and understand that it also involves medications and other things, which we'll come to.
Yes.
Because if you have any health, you are afflicted by any health condition or disease, then you must consult before you perform the Ramadan fast.
Exactly.
Okay. Certain medicines need to be taken with or without food, etc., etc. So there are health implications.
Yes.
Okay, so let's explain this for my listeners as we expect and hope for the presence of Dr. Abdullah as well. But so from dawn, right, to sunset, okay, when the sun sets, you are to abstain from food and drink. Just walk us through that as a practicing Muslim.
All right, great. Thank you very much. So, averagely, especially for those of us close to the equator, it's around 8 hours.
Okay.
Which is the period that physiologically we believe fasting take place. Okay. So this is a bit technical though, because we also have starvation.
Right.
So we have a physiological definition, and then of course biochemical definition also for fasting and then starvation. So generally it is safe. It is very safe.
If practiced and adhered to properly, fasting, especially or particularly emphatically during this period, is safe.
It's very safe.
Okay.
Now, the most difficult aspect, which many Muslims will tell you, and also from research work that has been done, is actually waking up at dawn to eat. It is one aspect of Ramadan.
The pre-dawn meal.
The pre-dawn meal.
The suha.
Yes, the suhoor.
Suhoor, rather.
The suhoor, yes.
Okay, I read it differently in my...
It's because you have to wake usually at this time of, and the time changes every day. But now you have to wake up probably before 4 a.m.
Okay.
And you're going to do this for 30 days.
So you wake up to eat.
Yes, you wake up.
The pre-fast meal.
Yes.
Pronounce it the proper way.
Yeah, the suhoor.
Suhoor.
The suhoor. So you need to wake up at around 3:50 or some 4 o'clock. Usually by 4:30 a.m. you should have finished eating your
Which
suhoor.
is part of the discipline.
Yes.
Right? That encompasses this whole period.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So depending on your culture or your traditions, what people eat could be different, but there are guidelines.
Okay.
it shouldn't be a feast.
Okay.
So if you wake up at dawn to eat, you shouldn't aim at feasting. It's just a meal that you are supposed
It's
to
not
take.
a banquet.
No.
Right? You don't stuff yourself knowing that for the next 8 hours I'm abstaining.
Which a lot of people do,
A
but
lot of
that's
people
wrong.
do, and
Yes.
there's a danger, even nutritionally or diet-wise, with regard to that. Okay.
Yes.
Let me just give you a breather, folks. If you just joined us, it's 20 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM, a concluding program or wrap-up program of our Ghana month. And yes, the Muslims or the Islamic faith is part and parcel of Ghana, and I couldn't have wrapped up my Ghana month without tackling something on that side or with regard to that faith. I'm in the studio with Dr. Hadi Abdallah. He's a neurosurgeon with the Kolebu Teaching Hospital.
Yeah.
Then we've just been joined, thankfully, by Dr. Kasim Abdullahi.
Yeah.
Abdullahi should be Tamale. Yeah?
You're right.
Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
So you're at Dagomba?
Yes, please.
Okay, the Abdullahis, I have some bridges with Abdullahis, but it's not health related. Let's leave that out. But he's in the specialty, or he specialized in dietetics, and he's a researcher with the University of Cape Coast. You're welcome, Doc.
Thank you very much.
Right, we're trying to place the context. Fasting itself can be placed within the health or the medical context. But again, when you have such an obligation as a religious or spiritual obligation, then people feel compelled, and they may overlook or ignore or exaggerate the health impact as well. So that's why we're looking at this within this context and as part of Ghana Month. So you're most welcome.
Thank you
I was just sharing with Hadi, we're getting the basics, okay? You are required to fast from dawn to dusk,
Yes, yeah.
or sunset, right?
You're right.
There are specific directions. Many people focus on abstaining from food and drink. We've established also that it's broader than that.
Yep.
Okay, lustful behavior, thoughts, all sorts of things, bad things,
Bad
right?
things.
But it's supposed to bring you closer to your maker, also give you a better appreciation and acknowledgement of the marginalized and the poor in society.
Exactly.
So by experiencing hunger within this concept, there's a whole spiritual, psychological, psychosocial, traditional, and all the paradigms and should I say spectrums of this. But coming back to this, we were just talking about the suhoor,
Yes, yes.
right? The pre-fast meal, right? Pre-departure formalities before you board.
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to read something. I don't know whether it's to do with the suhoor or the iftar. Iftar is the one after.
Yes.
Right? When you break the fast. But I saw in the directions or recommendations for things that help you over the period. Dr. Abdullah was talking about the dangers of overeating or feasting or binge eating as part of the suhoor. Can you just touch on that a bit?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, and let me say good afternoon to our cherished listeners. If you look at the sahur, it is an important meal for the person who is fasting.
Okay.
Because it helps you start your day. It gives you the energy that you will use to go and do your usual routine work.
Okay.
So it is very, very important meal.
Right.
However, some people also tend to abuse that. I tell you, because they are going to miss lunch, so they try to make up for the lunch during the sahur or during the iftar.
Okay.
And that also
So they pay themselves, so to speak,
exactly
ex gratia.
ex gratia.
Or is that one in gratia?
In gratia and then ex gratia. Some people
Okay.
will pay themselves in gratia.
When
and
it
then
gets
will
to the
pay-
iftar.
Exactly.
Yes.
They also pay themselves ex gratia.
Okay. What's wrong with that?
It's very wrong because they
You know,
tend to
the
overeat.
politicians will typically tell you, well, I haven't flouted any constitutional,
Yes.
Yes.
I'm doing the suhoor and I do it well.
Yes.
So what's wrong with that?
In fact, and that makes programs like this very, very important.
Okay, so what is wrong with it?
It is wrong because when you overindulge, when you overeat, you are basically consuming more than you need.
And you are stressing the body.
And you are stressing the body. And this is what happens. You know, usually when you overindulge, when you eat too much, you feel dizzy, you feel weak. This is what happens.
All right.
The blood will shift from the brains towards the stomach. It knows that, the body will always prioritize.
Okay.
It knows that it has a lot of work to do around the tummy, the stomach region. So blood movement shifts towards the stomach.
Okay.
And then there's a decrease in blood flow to the brain.
Okay.
And that makes you dizzy, that makes you feel weak. And when you do that, it gets you to lie down. People feel lazy. They don't do even their usual routine work.
Wow.
They don't do it. And then they become very lazy. And when you do that, the excess energy that you have consumed, what happens? It will be converted to sugar. And if you don't use it, it is converted to body fat and stored in the body. So instead of the fasting person losing some weight, which is what we are expecting, actually some people gain weight, much weight, significant levels of weight gain during the fasting because of their dietary habit, because of just what we are talking about. They tend to fast during the sahur, and it is not appropriate. It is not healthy. They tend to lose the health benefit that they will have gained if they had indulged in appropriate and healthy eating pattern during the fasting.
Great stuff. If you just joined us, this is 26 minutes past the hour 2 on Joy 99.7 FM, Ultimate Health with me, Norte by Nature. We're talking about the Ramadan and understanding the health benefits and challenges of fasting. It is broader than Ramadan, but this gives us the focus, right? The fulcrum for which, or with which we can discuss this. If you have any concerns, questions, experiences, WhatsApp is 055 11 11 997, and we're live on the phone 0302 221 6541. They're tinkering with the Facebook feed and a few other things, but you're welcome to join us. And Dr. Kasim Abdullahi was just, taking us through the suhoor, which is really the pre-fast meal. Let me not dare call it feast. It's a meal.
It's a meal.
It's done meal.
Right? Yeah. Because they'll say, I said it and therefore, so then no. It is a meal.
Justify it.
Okay. And then when you overdo this in anticipation of your flight, of your feast, there are problems. He suggests that there are biological, digestive, and other changes, even with regard to your central nervous system and its messages that send blood and other resources to key organs. If you overeat, the key organ or your 1D, 1F becomes your stomach. And that has problems. Yeah. Okay? But Doc, coming back to you, the Ramadan fast is not a diet. You're not dieting. Yeah. Okay, you're not doing it to lose weight or do this or that. Okay, it has. In fact, it is one of the pillars, one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Good. Right? I hope I'm on the right track.
You're right.
So when you start bringing in this stuff, haven't you lost your way? Yeah. I'm still within the 5 pillars and I'm still observing, right? But it's important to do this safely and in a healthy way. That's what you're saying, right? And we need to be mindful of that.
Exactly.
Okay, so you prepare for this 8 or more hour fast. Okay, let me ask you, as a specialist in this area, when we say we are fasting or denying the body nourishment, food and fluids or drink, right? What is the physiological implication for the body? I've read that we are supposed to, or we're designed to typically eat at least a minimum of 2 times a day. If we can, 3 times. So where there's a spiritual or religious dictate that says we should abstain from this as an expression of our faith, as an expression of our awareness of the providence, right, that keeps us alive. What is the physiological impact on the body? What are you telling your body and your organs?
Thank you very much. I think this is a very, very important question. And even though Ramadan is a spiritual activity,
right,
it is an Islamic obligation. Right. And in fact, usually we do give that clarification that we are not doing this because if you don't eat well, if you don't engage in appropriate dietary habits, you are going to lose any blessings or something like that.
Okay.
But we are just saying that this is a month that comes with a lot of benefits, even on our health.
Right.
So we have to capitalize on that.
Okay.
We have to take advantage of that and harvest the maximum benefit even on our health as far as possible. So that's what we are doing. So Ramadan, basically, God is saying that you have to fast because you may increase in piety. You may get some closeness, closure with Him, but not because of your health.
He's
but
not asking you, what's that song now? I can't keep myself. Right. God will not put you into danger. That's essentially what you're saying.
Not at all.
Right.
And God doesn't burden the soul beyond that which it can bear.
Okay.
So because of that, that is why, even though it is a spiritual activity, the same spiritual guidelines indicate to us that we have to have the pre-dawn meal. And to get people motivated to have it, it says that there is a lot of blessing in suhoor. So everybody must get up, even if it is water.
Okay.
If it is not water, you get some dates. So that is to say that you have to necessarily get up and have something, because you need to get something into the system that will give you the energy that you will use for your day. Even when you are talking, when you are walking, you will still spend some energy. Even if you are reading, there's some energy, some glucose that you are burning.
Fuel.
So you need that fuel. So it makes it close to obligatory for you to have that pre-dawn meal before you go.
And
so
have
it's
it
very
properly
important.
and safely.
That is,
in a healthy manner.
Yes, exactly. And it is also to make sure that you don't find yourself in any problems, because we'll look at the challenges of fasting, and that comes with the continuous fasting, where somebody will fast continuously for 2 days, for 3 days, for 5 days, and all that. 30 days, 40 days.
Thinking you are getting more blessing.
Thinking you are getting more blessing, not knowing you are harming the body. So when it gets to a point where the body is harmed, even God Himself doesn't want that. Even though we are doing this, but He doesn't want us to harm ourselves as a result. So it is very important. And this is what happens when you fast. When you fast, because the body mainly or usually will get its energy from glucose. And this is what happens when you eat, the food will get digested. It will be absorbed as glucose into the system, into the blood, and then the blood will carry it to the various cells for you to use it for energy. So basically, sugar is what is used in our
breakdown
system.
product.
Exactly, as fuel. Now, during fasting, and we have sugar
Doc,
storage.
just a second, as a specialist in dietetics, very often when we communicate, especially in our parts of the world, when you hear sugar, people think sugar. But essentially, you're talking about the breakdown product, glucose.
Yes.
Right?
So
as a source of energy and fuel for the body.
Exactly.
So when you say sugar, I'm a bit worried as to how it will be received, because people think then, you are eating sweet things, right?
Yes.
And I will come and ask a later question or a subsequent question relating the fasting to diabetics and other things. So when you say sugar, can you please hit on it properly? Because we are eating various food products, and then you are talking about the breakdown or the end product which the body uses or utilizes. Are you talking sugar?
Not
the doko.
Not the doko. So basically, you see that sometimes we advise against table sugar, that kind of sugar that we know.
The refined
one. The refined one.
Right.
Now, when you eat any food that is carbohydrate, any kenke, you eat rice, you eat banku, all of that is metabolized, is digested, is
broken
processed,
down.
is broken down to its simplest unit. And the simplest unit is glucose. And that is what we also may refer to as sugar.
So
anytime we mention sugar, we are referring to glucose.
So and the food product need not be sweet.
The food product need not be sweet.
Thank you.
Yes. But the basic form of it may just be sugar. Yes. So now, usually when you eat any food, it is digested and it is converted to sugar. then the sugar is taken into your blood, and it is taken into your blood so that it can distribute to all cells of your body. Because basically, especially when you engage in any physical activity, it is the cells, it is the muscles that are at work, and they consume a lot of glucose, and also the brains. So you need that. Now, when you overindulge, and we have this sugar or this food being converted into sugar into the blood, if you don't use it, it is converted temporarily to glycogen, storage in the liver. So it is stored in the liver as glycogen. Anytime you finish using what is in the blood, then the glycogen is converted back to glucose so that it can supply with some more glucose, and then you use. Now,
so it's like a savings account.
It's a savings account.
Exactly.
Now, during fasting, because we get up and eat basically twice in a day, the whole day. You eat pre-dawn meal and then the sahur, and also the iftar.
Right.
Now, when you eat and then you engage in your usual activity, you end up using up all the sugar that is in the blood. Now, the glycogen storage is also broken down to supply some more glucose. Now, when you finish using that, the body doesn't have any source of energy, any source of sugar again, because you have finished.
So your Bank of Ghana reserve
is finished. And now you have to go to IMF.
You have the body. Folks, I like breaking things down to normal, regular terms so you understand. So what he's saying is that, look, when you eat, it is broken down, right? Distributed as fuel, energy for the body. Okay, the body knows it can get this product on a consistent, dependable basis. Anytime it is denied of that, it has some storage, right, as backup. Okay, so you can use the backup. When you overfast, or you fast excessively, then it means that you have used today's money and future money, and you will go to IMF.
And you go to IMF.
Your body will go to IMF.
Exactly.
So in this scenario and analogy, what Doc is bringing to us is now the negative impact on your body when you overstretch this fast. Okay, Doc.
So at that stage, you are not really yet in the negatives.
Okay.
So we have what we call metabolic shifts.
Okay.
That is flipping. So once the body shifts from the usage of glucose to the use of fatty acids.
Okay.
So now, when you finish using the glycogen in the liver and the other storage stores, then the body will now revert to your body stores.
Okay.
That is the fat that you have in your body. It will break it down and then get fatty acid, and then it is used for energy.
So it needs energy at all costs.
It needs energy at all costs.
Okay. So at this point, when it's now depending on your fatty acids and the stores, the reserve stores. Have you crossed over into something Dr. Hadi mentioned earlier, starvation?
Okay.
Because I'm thinking in terms of, a Ramadan 8 to whatever hours fast. Okay, when do you tip into starvation? If it's a day or dawn to sunset, would you typically get there if you are a regular, healthy adult?
No, not really.
Okay, but we are using it to explain the dangers of overdoing this.
Exactly, overdoing it. That's what I'm saying. Starvation only comes with continuous fasting.
Okay.
Some people will want to fast continuously for 3 days.
So can I classify the Ramadan fast as intermittent fasting?
It is a perfect example of intermittent fasting.
Okay. Right. Intermittently, let me just announce that it is 37 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. The program, as always, on a Sunday afternoon. Ultimate Health, your ultimate guide to healthy living with me, Note by Nature. Yeah, Note Dua. I'm in the expert company of Dr. Hadi Abdallah. He's a neurosurgeon. Yes, we do have them coming from Nungwa and other parts. He's from there. Nungwa is begins with N, and neurosurgeon also begins with N. But he's a practicing Muslim as well. And over the years, he's helped the program with this discussion, very important at this time. And we've been joined, I think, for the first time on Ultimate Health by Dr. Kasim Abdullahi, specialized in dietetics, and he looks at all the nutritional impacts and all of these co-mini needs that I cannot look at, right? I'm happy to hear that if you overeat, you can get dizzy and you become lazy and so on and so forth, but they've been explained and tagged medically. If you have any questions, concerns, experiences, whether you are a practicing Muslim or not, it doesn't really matter. We're expanding the focus, but the focus is on the Ramadan fast. Our phone line is 0302216541. WhatsApp is 055-11-11-997. Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM.
I tried those with stomach ulcer or this chronic illness, so ulcer, diabetes, hypertension. I think we should encourage them to call, because sometimes, yes.
Right, because they may fast. In fact, fasting is not always conscious or voluntary.
Yeah.
You haven't eaten, period.
Exactly.
Okay, and the same physiological things we're talking about pertain. So feel free to call. But Doc, let me come back to you, Hadi. He mentions, and you mentioned, waking up 3-something a.m., 3:50, 4 a.m. to do the sahur.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, in regular, terms, so you eat that and what, sleep again?
Yeah, so when
I'm coming, because I read in the literature and parts of the Quran, you are expected to accomplish your daily obligations.
Yes.
You are expected to go to work.
Yes.
In some, should I say, predominantly Muslim or Islamic states, there's a lessening of hours or a reduction of hours, but essentially you are supposed to work.
Yeah.
So how do you do this? You wake up 3:50 a.m., you eat appropriately, right? Not excessively, and you still go back and do the full day. How do you do that?
So you realize that this time also dovetails into by the time you finish eating, you actually will be getting closer to when you should do the first daily prayer, which is the Fajr prayers.
Okay.
In Ghana, it's around 5 a.m.
Okay.
In some part of the Gulf, around 4:10.
So as a practicing Muslim of the Islamic faith, you already would wake up for that prayer.
Yes.
In fact, you already should wake up.
You should wake up. But some people don't do it. But what research has shown is that people tend to now stick to the time because they have to still wake up and eat the sahur.
Okay.
So in terms of that's where they say your spiritual upbringing, it helps you a lot. So it
brings you closer.
Closer.
Right.
So someone who ordinarily would have missed the Fajr prayers after eating will stay and do some supplication and await the first prayer for the day.
Okay.
Which is usually around 5 o'clock or 5:15.
Okay.
Right. After that, if you have to go to work, then you take advantage of that, take your bath, and then get prepared and go. The children can be prepared.
So Ramadan is not a designer excuse or screensaver for missing work and all that.
No.
Your religion, your faith actually expects that you work.
Exactly.
And be active. And indeed, I'll come back to Doc Abdullah on that. Physical activity is recommended.
Yes.
During this period.
Let me give you a typical example. So I'm a neurosurgeon.
Right. Just a second. Abeku tells me I do have. Abeku, do I have somebody on the line? Yep. Okay. Let me quickly take a caller and then come back. Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Oti.
Yes. Is this Oti?
Yeah, from Chema.
Right. Are you a practicing Muslim?
I'm not a practicing
Okay, but you have a question.
Yeah. As for me, as a Presbyterian, we are always started our 40 days Lent. And as for me, I'm Monday born, so normally Monday I'll not take anything. But in the morning, when I wake up around 4 o'clock. I just take hot water. And I'll break my fasting around 6. I'll break with some fruits. After taking some fruit, before I'll take some other drink. But on that day, I do the fasting, but I break around 12 or 3 because a 40 months Lent. But I'm asking
you're talking about Lent. Yeah, go ahead.
Lent, yeah. That is a fasting protein. As for me, if I have to take the morning, sometimes I feel a bit weak. So as doctor, normally in the first morning, I take hot water and drink. A bit, not too much hot, a bit warm, kakra.
Okay.
I drink it like 2 sack of sachet, 2 water. I boil it and I drink it. And I'll take it in the evening. Is that right for me to do that?
Okay, is it right for you to do that? But you do also observe that sometimes you feel weak. Okay, let me come back. Let me just quickly read this from my WhatsApp. This is from Dede in Maryland. It says, is there intimacy during Ramadan? Dede would go there, right? And why do women, lost her a second. Why do women stop fasting to eat during menstruation and then have to make it up for the lost days after Ramadan? Dede, you've been reading like me, eh? That's why you're my friend. So she's asking those questions. Let's come back to Oti's question. He's relating it to Lent. It's still fasting, right? Yeah. He abstains. He has a protocol for the first few days, and then he stretches it all the way into, he says 12, I think midday, and so on. Mm-hmm. He's asking if this is okay.
Okay. Yeah. So what happens is that if he could just modify the pre-dawn meal, I mean what he takes in the morning.
He says fruits.
He takes warm water, and then fruits when he breaks his fasting at 6.
Yeah. Okay.
So even if you could add some fruits in the morning and vary it a bit, that will help, and get something that had some carbohydrates, some energy, that will supply him energy to carry out the day's activities.
Right.
When he breaks his fast, also he will do some fruits. Also, he should get some food. The diet has to be balanced.
Okay.
It shouldn't be monotonous. It shouldn't be one way.
Okay.
So you are taking water in the morning, you are taking fruits it is not that balanced, even though it is very, very important to take fruit. And I'm happy he's taking fruit, because some people, that is where the problem is.
Right.
So he has it, but he's not taking anything that has some energy.
Okay.
He should add that, and then it will be very good for him.
Okay, great.
And he says he can do it for 40 days or 40 months. If it is,
talking about days.
Yeah, if it is continuous, longitudinal, then he has to even pay more attention to the diet, because we have what we call a hidden hunger. He can have some form of malnutrition, because we have these nutrients that are stored in body fats.
So he's losing out on some essential nutrients
that he may not know.
So he needs to balance out and get guidance on the
get
diet.
Some guidance. If he can talk to a dietitian, it will be very good.
Right.
But fasting definitely is good for the body and for our health.
Right. Hadi, you were making a point before I came in with the... Yeah.
So I'm just talking about like the adaptations.
The routine, and the adaptation.
The adaptations. The first 3 days, research has shown that it's usually difficult for many people, but the body finds ways of adjusting itself, and that's why many Muslims are able to go through the 30 days fast. And from experience also, a lot of people will tell you that from dawn to like 10 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
That is where they usually have difficulties. But after that, when the system adjusts, you are able to go through, because
the devil is a liar.
Yeah. Because physiologically, what happens is that the body goes into like self-preservation.
Okay.
So a lot of the secretions, including even acid, are actually, the productions are reduced. Your intestines begin to contract.
Okay.
Especially the small intestine, the stomach contract. Endorphins, which I'm sure that's your area.
Right.
Yes. The levels actually go up when it comes to endorphins.
Okay.
So all these things help.
It's almost as if you've triggered the body into a stress response.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And some researchers have even said that when there are also cancer cells or certain substances that are stored which could initiate cancer,
right,
they are all brought out and then destroyed during that period. So those are some of the advantages that people have talked about.
Okay.
Now, and I was talking about a neurosurgeon. You can take a neurosurgeon or a footballer.
Right.
Most of the professional footballers actually will be fasting during this period.
Right.
They are not actually barred from fasting.
Right.
And they are not exempted, so they will be fasting. But you realize that if you some few years ago, when Chelsea won the Champions League, there was this footballer called N'Golo Kante.
Right.
He actually won the best player award for that season.
Right.
And he was fasting throughout the period of
sometimes we
Ramadan.
forget the religious faith of some of these players.
Yeah.
I was reading about, is it Benzema?
Yeah, Benzema.
And a couple of them,
Yes.
they are performing, but they are also observing their religious faith.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's because of this adaptation. That is why they are able to go through it. And most of the sensitization of the brain, which also happens during our
disciplining
normal...
your brain.
Yes, you really discipline it.
Yeah. Okay.
So it is a very good exercise.
Right.
And then also to add to what he said about, is it Kojo, the one who called at 12?
Yeah. Otis.
Yeah. So Otis one is also a form of intermittent fasting. For
Right.
example, fasting up to 12 o'clock. So you're really not losing.
Okay.
It's when he begins to go beyond. So I think the problem with his is what he eats, what he takes for the pre-dawn
right.
meal.
Yeah. Okay.
He needs to improve. And
It's a bit, so you're suggesting his pre-dawn program is on the harsh and the deficient side.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So instead of warm water, he should look at other things that give him essential nutrients.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Right.
Exactly.
So he's overemphasizing the should I say departure
Yes.
phase.
Yeah.
Right? So in a sense, he's actually extending his fast into that phase.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas that should be actually nourishing his body before the fast.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, they brought in the I mentioned intimacy and other things, which are part of the Ramadan.
Exactly.
Then the issue of making up or compensating when you lose a day.
Yeah.
I read in preparation that, of course, sometimes you don't do what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the scripture and the guidance, if you confirm for me, suggests that you can make up for these lost days by extra days of fasting.
Yeah.
So can we comment on that? And then she brought in the women who stopped because menstruation, pregnancy and other things, illness, travel, infirmity and other things are part of the exemptions which exempt you properly from this fast. Okay, but then you can make up for some of these things. Can we comment on those?
Okay.
Yeah, like he said, there's this quotation, a verse in the Quran where Allah says, "Will not burden us beyond what we can take." So, really, this act of worshiping is not to make you worse off.
Okay.
You know, when it comes to menstruation, what people forget about is it's just not the blood, but we also have hormones.
Right.
There are hormones that are produced by the woman.
Okay.
And these hormones levels changes during the period of menstruation.
Obviously, yeah.
Now, some have said that the woman tend to be weaker during that period.
Okay.
So it is like a double burden.
For hormonal, and then also she loses blood and other things. Right, okay.
Because this hormone production actually depend on some of these same nutrients.
Okay.
So you don't want to overburden the woman. The same thing applies to women who are breastfeeding.
Right.
You know, a lactating woman who is nursing.
The Quran and the scriptures are right in exempting some of these groups.
Exactly.
Right? For not only religious, as we may think, reasons, but there are actually physiological underpinnings of these exemptions.
Yes.
Okay.
And then with the issue of sexual intercourse.
Raise your voice.
It's with the issue of sexual intercourse, it is just during the period when you are fasting, not the month of Ramadan.
Oh.
So when you break the fast after taking your iftar, in fact, it's encouraged that you can actually have sexual intercourse with your wife. And I need to explain this.
So you are fasting, right? Let me get it clear.
Yeah.
Right? My phone lines are still active. Those of you who are like that, 0302216541. Fasting is dawn to dusk.
Yes.
Right? Dawn to sunset.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you're saying that outside this spectrum, and within the month, the holy month of Ramadan, sexual activity, intimacy is not prohibited.
Yes.
Okay, continue.
One, because it's even a blessing for you to have a sexual intercourse with your wife. Of course, the other way around, if you are not married and you have a sexual intercourse also, it goes against you. So the Prophet actually encouraged men to get closer to their women during this period, not to. And even during the period of fasting, when you are actually fasting, you can, for example, kiss your wife. You can hug her. It is allowed.
Right, show you. Some of those things are buttons on the remote control.
Yeah.
So you go press, you get the channel.
Yeah.
But you are saying that within those limits, it's okay.
Yeah. It's okay. And then there are...
You haven't committed a sin?
No.
Okay.
You have not committed. Once it's your wife, like we said, it's a blessing. And then there are also some directions in Islam or rules that if you had a sexual intercourse, you are supposed to do like a special spiritual bath. Now, because of how tiring the fasting period is, there are many people who are likely to oversleep and may not even be able to wake up to take the sahur meal. Now, from some of the scholars, which I think he can also collaborate that, if you miss the dawn prayer because you had sex and you couldn't even do the spiritual bath, you can wake up later. Once you had the intention to fast, you can wake up later and then do that spiritual bath and continue with the fast. The only problem
is the spiritual bath restricted to sexual intimacy? Is it? Are you cleansing yourself because you had intimacy?
Yes.
Okay.
So you are cleansing yourself.
So in this sense, you're talking intercourse.
Yes, intercourse.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
And then there are things you're supposed to do, including this bath or spiritual bath. Okay.
The downside of that, though, is that you'd have been fasting for a longer period because you would have missed the dawn, the pre-dawn meal.
Okay.
Yeah.
55 minutes past the hour 2. I can't believe it. Right? Wow. The clock did not abstain. But Dede, I hope you've been answered. Go and take your spiritual bath. Or advise the people who asked you to ask the question, take the spiritual bath. But Doc, let me come to you. So we break the fast with another meal. That's the iftar, right? Okay. Does it also have these concerns about overdoing it?
Yes.
The same as the suhoor?
Yes. And in fact, before we even talk about the overdoing, some people don't get up to do it at all. Someone will tell you, when I get up early in the morning, I'm not able to eat. Some people think it is an act of pride, something that they have to be proud of. I have not eaten, I didn't get up, but I'm cool and all that. You may be cool, but there are implications for the body. So the pre-dawn meal, you will have to at least get up and have something.
That's still the suhoor.
The suhoor, even though you are not encouraged to overindulge. Even if it is water, even if it is 2 pieces of fruit or a date, anything, just have something that will give you some energy to sustain you throughout the day. That is very, very helpful. Now, when it gets to the iftar, in fact, that is where people really abuse. You know, it's virtually feasting. If you look at how people
That's roughly what? What time is that?
Around 6:15, 6:20,
right.
thereabout. That is when we break our fast. Some people, you know, you will see different drinks in different colors, you know, in different, concentrations. Is this done
individually? I thought it's done as a family meal and stuff like that. Is it individual?
Some people do. Usually they enjoy it when, it's in a group.
Right.
Yeah, so you find people usually going to the bases at the malls, they will gather together, come together, and then they will buy the food, everything.
To break their fast.
Yes. Okay. And when you are eating together, you are encouraged to eat more. Somehow it becomes like a competition. So you can easily overindulge. You can easily just overconsume the food. So and that is what we do. And you see different food. And what happens is that you will see these fizzy drinks, sugary drinks, and all that. That comes in different colors.
Right.
Aside that, they have food that, fried food, this food that are fried in deep oil and all that. And they have that. I mean, an example is kose, bullfruit, and all of that. Some people will add eggs. It's basically feasting during that time. It is not encouraged.
Right.
That is when you may just gain weight instead of you losing at the end of the period. What is encouraged is that you have some fruit, and date is the best fruit for breaking our fast.
And just before this program, very quickly, I was looking for local names of dates. It's the fruit of the date palm, typically in the Mediterranean regions. I saw an article which said dates had been grown in Wale Wale or somewhere. Right? I was reading, but I didn't finish. Do we have local names for dates?
Yeah.
What is called? What's it called?
Usually we call it Dabino.
We call it Dabino.
Dabino. All right.
Yes. And that it can actually grow. Yeah, I brought some few ones from
Because
the UAE and I planted them.
It's packed with nutrients.
It is packed with nutrients, especially potassium.
So you see it being referred to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you see, potassium is very, very good for the contraction of the muscle mass.
Okay.
And muscle tissue.
Yeah.
Immediately we break our fast, we prepare and go and engage in salah and prepare, which is about movement of the body.
Right.
So once you have date and you have some water, then you have the energy. And it also rich in energy, this glucose that we are talking about, which is easily absorbed. So instantly it gives you the energy that you need to engage in prayer, to engage in your spiritual activity.
Right.
So it is perfect during fasting. It is perfect. But when you don't have it, you can have any other fruit.
Okay.
We also need to take a lot of water because during the day,
dehydration is one of the cautions.
It's one of the problems that you may have, and that is when you don't hydrate yourself well. And it is something that people can learn. Some people are not able to drink a lot of water. It is a habit that you can develop. It's something you can learn. I used not to take enough water, but when I got to read the problems, so my problem was like frequent headaches. So when I got to know that dehydration can cause that, and I started taking a lot of water, and that thing stopped.
Right.
Then I made it a habit.